Seconde qui passe, chaque seconde, la dette de la
Every
France
second that
augmente de
passes,
5 000
every
euros.
second, France's debt increases by 5,000 to 5,000 euros in additional debt per second. That's where we soms.et. That's why I believe that, as we have been saying since the installation of the government, we now have a duty to take responsibility. I believe that this is the last resort before the cliff, and the crushing by debt must be called by its name. It is a mortal danger for one country. If we see in the truth the weapon of the citizens, this is what we must share with the French.
Prime Minister had the courage to come out yesterday proposing to cut 2 public holidays to address the debt issue, because France is drowning in debt. They have a debt to GDP of over 120%, and they're running annual deficits of around 6%. That's wartime deficits. So the only real or viable solution the government has at this point is to cut on spending, which of course they don't want to do, because why would you stop spending somebody else's money? So they're coming out with these gimmicks of cutting public holidays, and they're eventually going to come with a proposal to hike taxes even more, which France really cannot do because they already have one of the highest tax burdens in the entire European Union and developed world for that matter. So there is only one viable solution for France. That is actually cutting on spending, or the alternative, which will be very costly for French citizens, is to monetize the debt, to go to the ECB and ask for more money.
Once, they called Africa the Dark Continent. Today, it is the continent casting a long, undeniable shadow over Europe's future, and France knows it. The hunter has become the hunted. And in a historic reversal, France now needs Burkina Faso. This is no conspiracy. This is not fantasy. This is realpolitik, unfolding in broad daylight. Once upon a time, France looted African lands, controlled African governments, and extracted African wealth, especially from Burkina Faso. But now, the tides have turned in a way that's shaking the entire Western order. France is running out of uranium. Its energy grid is fragile. Its gold reserves are shrinking. Inflation is choking its economy. And in a desperate bid to stay afloat, Paris is quietly knocking on Ouagadougou's door. Yes, the same Burkina Faso that France once treated as a colony is now the very country it hopes will throw it a lifeline. And at the center of this transformation, a 34-year-old soldier with fire in his voice and vision in his eyes, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. This is a Frick Vibe channel, and today, we break down the biggest reversal of power in modern Africa, why France's economy is collapsing from within, how Burkina Faso turned its minerals into leverage, what Ibrahim Traoré did to make France come crawling back, and why this is just the beginning of Africa's final liberation. Buckle up. This is the real Africa story that the Western media refuses to show. And it's happening right now. Factories shutting down, angry citizens clashing with police, Macron on national TV. France, once the symbol of prosperity and power in Europe, is now trembling under the weight of its own arrogance. Here's the truth. Electricity bills are skyrocketing. Fuel shortages are frequent. Food prices are climbing. And the once mighty industrial machine is rusting. What happened? France lost its colonial grip, the very grip that gave it access to cheap African minerals, labor, and land. And no country's independence has hurt France more than that of Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso didn't just walk away. It slammed the door, threw the key into the river, and said, "We're building our future without you." Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't ask for negotiations. He took action. In just months, he expelled French troops from Burkinabe soil, canceled unfair resource contracts, prioritized national self-reliance over Western aid, and built solidarity with Mali and Niger to form a powerful Sahel alliance in France. Suddenly, it lost military access to the Sahel, billions in gold and uranium profits, political control over one of its most important West African nodes. Traoré is more than a soldier. He is a symbol, a signal to the rest of Africa that it's time to break free. And that signal is growing louder every day. France's problem isn't just political, it's material. Burkina Faso is rich in everything France needs to survive in the 21st century. Over 70% of France's electricity is powered by nuclear energy. Without uranium from Burkina Faso and Niger, French cities go dark. France's central bank is struggling to maintain its reserves. Burkina Faso's gold was once silently exploited. Now it's off the menu for France. The world is racing toward electric vehicles and AI. These technologies need rare minerals, and Burkina Faso holds a motherlode. Burkina Faso's cotton industry once fed France's textile giants. Now, it exports to Bangladesh, India, and China, leaving France behind. France is watching Burkina Faso build new trade routes without it, and the discomfort in Paris is growing. Traoré didn't just fight for military independence. He's rebuilding Burkina Faso's economic soul. Key reforms: local ownership of mines, food sovereignty programs, job creation through industry, not NGOs, education reform focused on African identity and innovation. His goal? To make sure no child in Burkina Faso ever grows up dependent on foreign aid. Traoré made one thing clear: Burkina Faso is not for sale. Not to France. Not to anyone. You won't hear it on CNN or France 24, but France is begging for a seat at the table. French officials have secretly proposed new energy contracts, military cooperation, agreements on food exports. But Burkina Faso isn't biting. Why? Because today, the country has options. Russia for military support, China for infrastructure and AI, India and Bangladesh for textiles, Turkey for defense and engineering, African neighbors for unity and strength. France is no longer needed and no longer trusted. Burkina Faso is no longer isolated. With Niger and Mali, it has formed the Alliance of Sahel States, a military, economic, and cultural union to replace the failed promises of ECOWAS and the lies of Western alliances. Together, they are building joint defense systems, launching their own currencies, regulating mining industries, sharing intelligence and education platforms. This is what true African independence looks like. And to France's horror, the model is spreading. France is not just facing African resistance, it's facing global embarrassment. The West is realizing Africa is no longer a passive player. Colonial-era influence is fading fast. And if France can lose Burkina Faso, it can lose the entire continent. African leaders from Algeria to South Africa are watching Traoré's success and asking, why not us next? The old balance of power is gone. The new world order is being built in Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey. Burkina Faso's journey is more than resistance. It's a blueprint. Africa no longer needs foreign aid. Africa needs vision, unity, courage, control. What Traoré teaches us: build your economy from within. Control your minerals. Partner with those who respect your people. Teach your youth that Africa is rich, not poor. A Frick Vibe channel says it loud. Burkina Faso is not a miracle. It's a model. History doesn't repeat itself. It evolves. France once ruled with fire and chains. Today, it comes with empty hands and worried eyes. Burkina Faso is not just surviving. It is leading. And in doing so, it has flipped the entire geopolitical script. To France, we say, we remember, and we will never kneel again. To Africa, we say, this is our time. Like, share, and subscribe to a Frick Vibe channel, your home for Africa's rise, truth, and power. Let them know the lion is no longer asleep.
In order to pay for it, France is drowning in debt, now at a staggering 3.3 trillion euros, with annual interest payments of 60 billion euros. And their solution? Well, the Prime Minister just announced a new austerity plan to bring the deficit down from 5.8 to 3% of GDP by 2029. And the flagship move to do this? Cancelling public holidays, namely Easter Monday and Victory Day in Europe. Clearly not important, and this should generate roughly 4.2 to 4.5 billion in extra revenue by making people work more. On top of that, they're freezing pensions, cutting healthcare by 5 billion euros, and slashing public sector pay and jobs. Because, taking away holidays, taking away pay, and cutting access to critical services is always a good way to keep French people from rioting. And yes, the backlash has already been intense. Unions say this is a real provocation against workers, and both the left and the right are threatening no confidence votes. And half the country thinks this is an assault on French cultural identity and hard-earned rest, while the bureaucrats in palaces, like those at the Economic, Social and Environmental Council, enjoy $121,000 salaries, 54 days off, lavish perks, while taxpayers foot the bill, roughly 45 million euros per year. So apparently France isn't suffering from a revenue shortage, it's suffering from bureaucratic bloat and a budget built more on perks than on productivity. But what do you think? Is France overdue a reality check, or is this a step too far? French people, I'm curious. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.